There are new questions now, significant questions about the Iran deal that helped bring several American hostages home. Some casting doubt on the White House's assertion that it was merely a prisoner exchange that won the release of 5 Americans. That's because we are learning the payment of $1.7 billion to Tehran coincided time-wise with that release. Question this morning, was this actually ransom money? Marc Thiessen, columnist for the Washington Post, Fox News contributor, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. And Marc, good day to you.
Good morning,
There's
Bill.
a lot to go through here. I don't know if you believe in coincidence or not, but the timing sure makes you shake your head. Wall Street Journal has this report, $1.7 billion. Can you prove it?
I don't think you can prove it, but it's certainly, you know, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. I mean, when you give $1.7 billion to a terrorist regime on the same day or close to the same day that they release 5 American hostages, I mean, that's a ransom under anybody's calculation. And the problem is it's not just an isolated incident, it's part of a pattern. This is a government, the Obama administration, that gave the Taliban 5 senior Taliban leaders in exchange for an American hostage, that gave the Cuban government 3 convicted Cuban spies in exchange for a U.S. hostage. And now they've given $1.7 billion to the Iranian regime in exchange for these hostages. What the message that sends is hostage-taking pays. And so it's not just going to cost $1.7 billion. The price is going to be paid in more Americans being taken hostage.
There's a militia general in Iran who's quoted in this story, okay? He gave a statement to state media, Mark. I want you to listen to this now. Taking this much money back was in return for the release of the American spies and doesn't have to do with the nuclear talks. The way to take back our rights from the arrogant Americans is to become powerful, and we must grow stronger and stronger every day. That's the way they're thinking in Iran, Mark.
Absolutely. And look, the Iranians are pretty clear about what this was, that this was a ransom deal. And the reality is that he's talking about, you know, to grow stronger and stronger every day. When you give a terrorist regime $1.7 billion, what are they going to spend it on? Terrorism. So this is money that's going to fund the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Quds Force, which are the people who fund Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels in Yemen. This is a group that was behind the 1996 Khobar Tower bombings in Saudi Arabia that killed 19 Americans. This is a group that funded and trained the Shia militias in Iraq that killed thousands of American troops. So we are giving money. This money is not only just going to as a hostage exchange, as part of a hostage exchange, as ransom for terrorists. It's going to fund terrorism that's going to target the U.S., Israel, and our allies.
Didn't John Kerry all but admit that yesterday?
Absolutely he did. And, you know, it's fascinating. He said that this was a group that was labeled, the IGRC, the Revolutionary Guards, was a group labeled a terrorist organization. Who were they labeled by? They were labeled by his State Department. And the reason they were labeled is because they are a terrorist organization. His own State Department in 2012 said, this is their assessment of what's happening in Iran. This is 2012, a couple of years ago. There has been a marked resurgence in Iran's state sponsorship of terrorism through its Islamic Revolutionary Guards Quds Force. Terrorist activity has reached a tempo unseen since the 1990s. We're giving these people billions and billions of dollars when the tempo of terrorism is unseen since the 1990s, according to the Obama State Department.
The White House says it's a victory for taxpayers. Did you hear that?
Except for the
because
taxpayers.
This goes back to a case from 1979 where a deal was reached and it never went through because of what happened in the ensuing days and months after that, and so the money was frozen. And what the White House is saying is that the Iranians would have beaten us in court anyway if they'd taken this to The Hague. So, I mean, we got a deal.
Yeah, we got a bargain. It's a bargain for us. Look, it's not a victory for the American taxpayers that are going to get taken hostage because the Obama administration has told the world, all the terrorist regimes of the world, it pays to take American hostages. We just got the North Koreans today taking an American hostage. It's going to happen in other parts of the world. Hostage taking, when you pay hostage takers, when you give senior Taliban leaders and Cuban spies and billions of dollars to the Iranian regime, the message around the world is unmistakable. Take American hostages because the United States is going to pay up at the bar.
Yeah, you just want to point on this. You mentioned the Taliban 5, right? I mean, our math is terrible, right? That was a 5-for-1 deal. This deal was 7 Iranians plus another 14 where extradition proceedings were dropped. That's a total of 21 in exchange for 5 Americans.
Yeah, well, every American life is precious, but, you know, the problem again becomes we're glad to have all those Americans back, even the deserter, but the problem is that the price is more Americans getting taken hostage, because it encourages people. It's not just the $1.7 billion. It's not just the bad terrorist release. It encourages the bad guys of the world to take American hostages because they think they can not only get away with it, they can get funded for it and rewarded for it.
And to our viewers, I mean, if you don't believe that timing is suspicious, check out this story in the Wall Street Journal today. Thank you, Marc Thiessen with Reaction Today from Washington.